Every country needs money to manage defense, police, courts, hospitals, schools, colleges, and to build roads and bridges. In order to make money, the government of that country would collect taxes from all the people who earn a certain amount of money. There is something called a tax slab given by the government which tells us that a person who earns this much money in 1 year must pay the government that percentage of his annual income as tax. By doing a small calculation, you can find out how much money will be deducted by the government. Of your total income, house rent, medical expenses, and donations made for a social cause will be deducted, and you will be asked to pay tax for the remaining amount. Well, suppose your net income for a year is 6 lakhs. Then, difference of 5 lakhs from 7 lakhs 50,000 is calculated. 10% of this difference plus 12,500 rupees is what you will have to pay as tax. This is where we will have trouble calculating since addition, subtraction, multiplication and division are together sandwiched in one equation. We might have trouble figuring out where to start. To save us this confusion, the concept order of operation comes handy here. Hi, welcome to Fun Maths Academy. Let us learn how to perform arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication and division on whole numbers, decimals, integers and fractions. Also, we shall learn how to perform order of operation for complicated problems. We know that addition is used to add, subtraction is used to subtract, multiplication is used to multiply, and division is used to find quotient. These four operators are related to each other. For example, addition and subtraction are opposite to each other. Likewise, division and multiplication are opposite to each other. Not just that, repeated addition is multiplication and repeated subtraction is division. In addition, digits of unit place are written in one column, tens place are written in one column, hundreds place are written in one column and then added. The same procedure is also used in subtraction, except that the lowest number is written below the highest number and then subtracted. Next is multiplication. Long multiplication is used to multiply large numbers. For example, let us multiply 756 by 32. Expand the multiplier 32 as 30 plus 2 and multiply 756 by 2 and then by 30. It will be as if we multiplied by 3, but you will see that we will leave a column and write the answer from the tens place. First, by multiplying 6 by 2, we get 12. Then we write 2 here and then put 1 in the tens place. Next, we will multiply 5 by 2 and we get 10. On adding with 1 in the tens place, we get 10 plus 1 is equal to 11. We will write 1 here and write the other one in the hundreds place. Multiplying 7 by 2, we get 14. On adding with the 1 on top, we get 15. Same procedure will be followed when we multiply 756 by 3. As 3 is in the tens place, on multiplying with 6 in units place, the product will be written from tens place. There are two ways to find quotient in division, short division and long division method. We know that division is nothing but repeated subtraction. In fact, in long division method, all we do is subtract repeatedly. For example, let us divide 3640 by 15 using long division method. There is no 15 in 3, so we write 0. There are two 15s in 36 and since 2 times 15 is 30, let us write 2 here and write 30 below 36. On subtracting 30 from 36, we get 6. Next, let us pull down 4 and write 64. In 64, there are 4 15s. And since 4 times 15 is 60, we will write 4 here and 60 here and on subtracting, we get 4. On pulling the next digit down, we get 40. As there are two 15s in 40, we write 2 times 15 as 30 and remainder we get 10. So here, the quotient is 242 and the remainder is 10. You may wonder where repeated subtraction was used. As subtracting 50 from 3640 repeatedly will consume a lot of time, we are going to subtract 200 lots of 15, that is 3000 from 3640. You may think that 3000 is not here at all. Since 3 is in the thousands column, it becomes 3000. From the remaining 640, 40 lots of 15, that is 600, is subtracted from 640. In the remaining 40, you may notice that 2 lots of 15, that is 30, is present. It doesn't matter if you don't understand this method. All that you should understand is, in long division method, the arithmetic operators other than addition, that is subtraction, multiplication and division, are used repeatedly in reverse order. First we will divide 36 by 15 and then we will multiply 2 by 15 and this product 30 is subtracted from 36. This process is repeated for the new dividend we get until the value of the dividend becomes lesser than the divisor. Next, in short division method, let us divide 284 by 8. Since there are no 8s in 2, we shall take the next digit 8. There are 3 8s in 28 and so when we multiply 3 by 8, we get 24 and the difference will be 4. Now, how many 8s are there in 44? Yes, there are 5 8s in 44 and 5 into 8 is equal to 40. We get remainder 4. There are no more digits left so that we can combine with it. To continue this division further, let us place a decimal point and then add a 0 next to it. The value of the dividend will not change on adding this, but we are doing this for our own convenience. We should not forget to place a decimal point on the quotient too. Now, how many 8s are there in 40? Yes, there are 5 8s in 40. This answer 5 will be written in the quotient next to the decimal point. The secret to find the answer in decimals lies in the zeros we place next to the decimal point. Next, we shall check out arithmetic operators in decimals. We know that a decimal point separates a whole number and part of a whole. While adding or subtracting decimal numbers, keep the PUP rule in mind, that is points under points. We should line up the numbers such that the decimal points fall under one line and then automatically the ones place, tens place and even the tenths place will all automatically line up. Just like how we add and subtract whole numbers, the same way we add and subtract decimals too. Sometimes some students may forget to place the decimal point, whereas some may place more than one decimal point in a number. But you shouldn't make such mistakes, okay? Next up is decimal multiplication. Just like how we multiply two whole numbers, the same way we multiply decimal numbers too. One difference will be that after finding the product, we need to count the number of digits lying to the right of the decimal point in both the multiplicand and multiplier, that is the decimal digit, and we need to make sure to place the decimal point so that there are those many number of decimal digits in the answer too. Here in the multiplicand there is one decimal digit, in the multiplier there is one decimal digit, so on the whole there are two. So we need to make sure that there are two decimal digits in the answer too. Well, sometimes it happens that we won't have enough number of digits in the answer to place a decimal point. In such cases, we might have to add enough zeros to match the decimal digits. Next is decimal division. Now, if the dividend is a decimal number and the divisor is a whole number, then it's not that hard to find the quotient. We need to follow the normal division method. But one thing to keep in mind is the decimal point must be placed in the quotient such that it lines with the dividend like this. Suppose we need to divide a decimal number, then we need to convert the divisor into a whole number and then it won't be that hard or complicated to solve. So in order to do that, let us write the given division in a fraction form first and then multiply the denominator by powers of 10 so that it becomes a whole number. We need to multiply the numerator with the same power of 10 too. Only then we will get an equivalent fraction. Now since our divisor is now a whole number, we can use usual division method and find the quotient. To double check our answer, round off the divisor and dividend in the question and compare with the estimated answer. That's all. Next is arithmetic operation on integers. For this, consider a number line and a person walking on it. If the person faces the right, let us denote it by plus, and if the person faces left, then let us denote it by minus. So in either cases, if the person walks towards the side he is facing, let it be the positive direction, and if he walks in the opposite direction, let it be the negative direction. Keeping this in mind, let us see how to add integers. So when we add two positive integers, we get a positive integer as an answer. This is same as our normal addition. Suppose we add plus 3 and minus 2. Moving 3 steps forward and 2 steps backward, we get the answer as plus 1. Suppose we add minus 3 and plus 2, then moving 3 steps backward and 2 steps forward, we get answer as minus 1. From examples 2 and 3, we see that if we add two numbers and if the signs of the two numbers are different, then the answer will be the difference of those two numbers, while the answer will have the sign of the biggest number. Applying this, you can add any two numbers of different sign. In example 4, on adding -3 and -2, we get -5. From examples 1 and 4, we see that when we add two numbers of like signs, then we need to find the sum of those two numbers and put the sign of those numbers. One can find it very hard to keep all this in mind. But if you ask me for a much easier way, then first fix a small number and then vary the number to be added and the sign. We can find all possible combinations here. From this method, you will get an idea as to how your answer will change when you add two numbers of same sign and different sign. If you had understood this method, then you will be able to add any two numbers. Now, let us check out how to subtract two integers. We already know that addition and subtraction are opposites of each other. That is, subtracting two numbers is same as adding one number with the additive inverse of the other number. For example, subtracting a number with 2 is the same as adding the number with its additive inverse, that is -2. Likewise, subtracting a number with -2 is equal to adding the number with its additive inverse, that is 2. Actually, here we have rewritten subtraction problem as an addition problem. Well, we already know how to solve problems on addition. Numbers with like signs will be added and the sign will be put in there. Numbers with unlike signs will be subtracted and the sign of the biggest number will be put there. Just like how we did in addition, keeping a number fixed and by varying the numbers to be subtracted, we might get an idea on how the answers will vary with respect to different numbers and different signs. Next is multiplication of integers. This is where the concept of a man standing on a number line and facing left or right is used thoroughly. First, let us multiply +3 and +2. Here, the multiplier is positive and so we are going to consider a person facing right. On multiplying +3 and +2 using the number line, we get +6. We get the answer to be positive because the person facing right moves towards his right. Now let us multiply +3 and -2. Here, the multiplier is negative and so we will consider the person facing left. This person facing left moved towards his left, which is his positive direction and not the opposite direction. So we get the answer to be -6. Now let us suppose we multiply -3 and +2. Here, the person facing right is jumping in the opposite direction, that is left 3 times. Here too, we get the answer as -6. Now let us suppose we multiply -3 and -2. Here, the person facing left is jumping thrice in the opposite direction. Here we get the answer to be +6. So from this we can see that minus into minus is plus. One can note that when we multiply two like signed numbers, we get a positive answer, and when we multiply two unlike signed numbers, we get a negative answer. Try fixing a value for the multiplicand and vary values and signs of the multipliers and find their products. From that, you will get an idea on how values and sign will vary in each case. Now, when we multiply odd number of negative numbers, we will get a negative product. And when we multiply even number of negative numbers, we get a positive product. Since division is inverse process of multiplication, the same rules we used in multiplication will also be used in division. That is, when two like signed numbers are divided, we get a positive number, and when two unlike signed numbers are divided, we get a negative number. Let us now check out how to carry out these calculations in a calculator. To denote a negative sign, a plus or minus button will be present. This will have to be used either before or after entering the number depending on the calculator you use. For addition and subtraction, separate plus and minus operator buttons will be present. Try not to get confused with the sign button and the operators button. Okay, now let us check out how to calculate using a calculator. If you have a calculator of your own, take it out. We shall do it together. First, let us calculate -14 plus -71. In my calculator, I have to enter the number first and then its sign. So first I will press 14, then plus or minus, and then plus operator, and then I will type 71, and then I will press the plus or minus button, and then I will press equal to button to get the answer. Here the answer is -85. Example 2 is 22 minus 45. So first press 22 and then minus operator, then 45, and then I press plus or minus button, and when I press equal to sign, I get the answer as 67. So let us check out arithmetic operation on fractions. Fraction is written as numerator by denominator, and these two need to be whole numbers. If numerator is lesser than the denominator, then the fraction will be called a proper fraction, and these values will lie between 0 and 1 in the number line. If numerator is greater than the denominator, then such fractions will be called improper fractions, and these numbers will be represented beyond 1 in the number line. Also, an improper fraction can be written as a mixed fraction, and a mixed fraction can be written as an improper fraction. To write improper fraction as a mixed fraction, we will have to divide the numerator by the denominator. Then, we should put the quotient as the whole part and write the remainder as the numerator and divisor as the denominator in the fraction part. This is how we get a mixed fraction. Now to write mixed fraction as improper fraction, we need to multiply the denominator and the whole part and add the product with the numerator. This way, we get the numerator for the improper fraction. Denominator of the mixed fraction will be the denominator of the improper fraction too. Now let us see how to add or subtract fractions. When the fractions are like, it is easy to add or subtract. We just have to add or subtract the numerators alone and then write it as the numerator of the answer. We keep the denominator the same itself. On the other hand, when we have to add or subtract unlike fractions, we will be tempted to just add and subtract both the numerator and the denominator and write the answer. Unfortunately, that's wrong. We cannot do that. Instead, we will convert the fractions into like fractions and then perform the operations. Now, how do we convert unlike fractions into like fractions? We first find LCM for both the denominators, then multiply the denominators with respect to multipliers such that both the denominators are equal to the LCM. Multiply the numerators with the multipliers we used for the denominators, and now we will get like fractions. Now we can simply perform the operation and find the answer. Next is multiplication of fractions. Multiplication and division of fractions is pretty easy. We can get the answer directly. When we multiply two fractions, multiply the numerators and write the product as the numerator. Multiply the denominators and write the product as the denominator. That's all. Likewise, when we have two mixed fractions, rewrite them as improper fractions and then multiply the numerators and denominators separately and write the answer. In some cases, we can simplify the fraction by cancelling the numerator and denominator by a common factor. If you want so, we can also rewrite the improper fraction as a mixed fraction. Next is division of fractions. To divide two fractions, we just write the first fraction as such and invert the second fraction and multiply with the first fraction. That is, we write the numerator as denominator and denominator as numerator and multiply this with the first fraction. To divide two mixed fractions, we have to convert the fraction into improper fraction and then, as usual, invert the second fraction and multiply it with the first fraction. We can multiply and divide two fractions in a calculator too. Why don't you try that on your own calculator? And this is how I find using my calculator. Next is order of operation. Like I mentioned earlier, when there are too many operations involved in an equation, we might get confused which operation to use first. If we calculate in any random order, we might not get the right answer. So this is where BODMAS rule comes into the picture. B stands for brackets, meaning the calculation inside the braces should be done first. In case there are more than one set of braces in an expression, we need to start from the innermost braces and work our way out. Second, O stands for order or index or exponent. Third, DM stands for division and multiplication, which must be performed from the left. This doesn't necessarily mean that division must be performed first and then multiplication. No, not at all. We have to perform whichever operation, either multiplication or division, from left to right of the expression. That's all. Fourth, AS stands for addition and subtraction, which will again be performed from left to right. In some books, this rule will be mentioned as BODMAS, and in some books it will be mentioned as BITMAS, and in some books this will be mentioned as BROIDMAS. All are one and the same. So now let us consider this example. Consider first the innermost bracket in the expression, that is 6 into 3, and write the product 18. In the next innermost expression, we have subtraction and division sign. By BODMAS rule, we should first do division and then subtraction. Now this bracket is completed. Next bracket contains multiplication and addition. By BODMAS rule, we must first do multiplication and then addition. Finally, on performing the addition operation, we get the answer as 52. So, in this video, we learned how to perform arithmetic operations on decimals, integers and fractions, and also we learned about the order of operations. A link to an assessment based on the concepts we learned today is mentioned in the description box. Do give it a try and check your answers in the end. If you have any doubts regarding these, please mention in the comment section and we will definitely get it cleared. Examples on this topic will be covered in another video. If you have liked this video, do hit the like button. Share it with your family and friends. Record your comments in the comment section and do not forget to subscribe to Fun Maths Academy and click on the bell button to get updated on future videos. Thank you.